Hi! Are you having trouble surviving your first week in Project Zomboid? I've got a short guide to help you. If you have not survived your first day, consider checking out the quick guide that I made. Link is going to be on the upper right corner. So you've survived your first day. What should you do next? Before proceeding into your second day, I suggest using the Knox County map. Look for your preferred permanent base in the town that you are in and try to determine where you are. I would recommend any of the houses in the gated community in both Rosewood and Riverside because they have indestructible fences. These would allow you to spend less time as far as base defenses go and focus on looting or leveling your other skills. Ideally, you would be spending days 2 to 5 making your way towards your preferred location while looking out for these things. Electrical for beginners, mechanics for beginners, carpentry for beginners up to intermediate, a screwdriver, a hammer, saw, an axe, nails, car tools, and a working vehicle. You can also sometimes find a sledgehammer too if you are very lucky. Most of the tools will be used in basic crafting and disassembly for the skills that we need before the chopper event comes. Depending on the occupation you took, you will need to grind for the skills necessary to enable hot wiring vehicles, which are 1 in electrical and 2 in mechanics. You can bypass this process if you take the burglar occupation. Securing a working vehicle will allow us to cover more ground when looting and to also locate our desired base faster. To train electrical, you need to disassemble TVs, radios, digital watches, lamps, and other electrical appliances. Mechanics will depend on your available reading materials, but by default, you can only work on sedans and small cars. Repeated removal and reinstallation of light bulbs, batteries, and radios are the ones you can do easily when you have a screwdriver. If you have a jack and a lug wrench, then you can also do the tires. The suspension and brakes will require you to read lanes auto manuals depending on the car type. Make sure that the vehicle you will practice on is disposable, as you will almost always fail on the parts that require higher level of mechanics. But failing on removing and installing these parts will still give you XP. Note that you can only receive XP once per 24 hours for each part. Training carpentry to tool is optional, but it can be handy if you want to enclose your base with walls or fences. If you don't want to be bothered training mechanics and electrical like I do, an alternative for finding vehicles is by checking for keys in the ignition, glove box, or ground near the vehicle. Houses with a parked car may also contain its keys in one of the containers inside. However, acquiring the hot wiring skill can be a lifesaver, especially if you have to abandon your safe house or vehicle. These 3 things can be achieved in any order depending on your luck. You can even reach your desired safe house location before finding any of these things. Or, it is also possible to lessen the list depending on the occupation or skills that you take. Once you have completed this short checklist, you can now start preparing for the chopper event. Depending on what you decide, to fight or wait it out, you will need to gather food and reading supplies. Some people do both, but if you play on short days, you have to prioritize the things you need in your desired course of action. When day 6 hits, it would be best to stay indoors until after the chopper event. It might be a good idea to exercise or level up some other skills like tailoring. After the chopper event, you will now be free to explore Knox County as you please. Whether it's going to be collecting cars, building a nice base, collecting items, or becoming a hardened survivor, feel free to choose your ending. If you've learned a thing or two from this guide, please like and subscribe. The next video will be about how to fight during the chopper event. I also have a lot of in-depth tutorials about gun mechanics and fence combat on the way. Have a nice day and Squishy out.